Hi, hello, what's up guys? Today we're talking about, in my opinion, one of the most misused and underrated cameras on the market, the iPhone. Now I'm making this video because I often get questions from people after I've uploaded an image asking, what am I shooting with? And most of the time this is actually just my 2-year-old iPhone 6S. This is not anything new. It's about 2.5 years old now. Now I wanted to share a few tips around how I approach images on my iPhone and how I shoot with it, how I edit with it. This video is not entirely restricted to the iPhone 6S or any particular model or brand. This is just me sharing my personal experience using this device. Now, all of the pictures that you are going to see throughout this entire video are shot on my iPhone, but the footage that you're seeing now is actually shot on my Sony A7R II, which I made a video about. I will link that below. Now, I know it's a cliche, but the best camera you have is the one that's on you. And it's actually true. There are always going to be places that we want to get the perfect shot, but we simply can't. Sometimes we can't take our DSLRs or our mirrorless cameras there. Sometimes we simply just don't have them on us. We don't want to make people uncomfortable. We're asked not to film. All of these different kinds of reasons pop up, but not when it comes to this nifty guy. Now, camera phones get a lot of flack from all directions. We've all heard the excuses. It's not good enough. It's just a phone. It's too small. Stop mocking your phone and its camera, because it is not designed to simply be a camera, but it is one that we can use. It's portable, it's fast, but the size, the quality really isn't that bad. And best of all, it will be the one that you almost always have on you. And sometimes we just have to make do with that. But when it comes to shooting, it really comes down to the composition and taking ownership of the parts that we can control. iPhones and other camera phones are designed to pre-process everything for us. We don't have a lot of the controls like shutter speed, ISO, or even control over the aperture. So I'm going to share some tips that I like to keep in mind when I shoot with my phone, and then we'll actually go through the process from start to finish, and we'll take a picture and we'll edit it. Now, this requires no extra gear. This means no iPhone tripod. This means no stabilizers. This means no extra gear. This is simply just you, me, and my phone. Now, if you find this video at all helpful, feel free to leave some love below by liking and subscribing. Angle. More often than not, I actually see people taking pictures with their phone from their regular height. They're standing up and they just pull out their phone in front of them and they take the picture. This can look great if you're lining up a shot from dead on, or you have a really great sense of symmetry going on inside the composition. Now, a lot of the time this just might not work because it doesn't offer us anything new about the way that we see the world. Create a bit of interest and a bit of diversity by changing up the angle that you're shooting from. Now, this could mean shooting from below, shooting from the side, shooting from the top. Try and get something different. If all else fails, shooting dead straight on and actually hitting those horizontals and those verticals can actually produce some really great results. So don't be afraid to do that either if all else fails. Number 2, color. Make it pop. Use the color to the shot's advantage. I personally like something with a bit of high contrast and saturation, and placing that against something that's entirely different to really bring out the subject. Whether that's orange on blue or whether that's black on white. Use something that's really high contrast and make it damn pop. Number 3, lighting. This does not require a professional lighting setup, so don't even worry about that. But if you do get the lighting right, you can take advantage of those first 2 points really well. Whether it's through shadows or bouncing light, framing your subject in the right lighting is super important. This could mean shooting at a different time of day and waiting for maybe sunrise or sunset, or maybe you just want midday harsh sunlight and getting some really crisp shadows. Natural lighting is amazing and you can use it in a million different ways. Definitely lean into that. If all else fails and you're shooting inside, try and find a window, get close to it, and try and experiment with the angle that you're shooting from to get some really interesting results from the shadows. Be wary when shooting on your phone because the auto exposure can be your best friend and worst nightmare at the same time. Often it can actually ruin the image, but please don't be afraid to take ownership and control from the phone and adjust the auto exposure to exactly where you need to get enough lowlights and highlights. If in doubt, always remember to go a little underexposed because we can bring out a lot more of the information through editing with those lower tones versus those highlights. Now, if possible, always remember to try and shoot during daylight or well-lit situations. Now, this is just because the sensors are so small, they really don't hold up very well in really low light situations. This will often produce some really grainy footage that we really just can't use. 4, depth of field. Now, if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know by now that I'm a huge fan of depth of field. I love using it to highlight a subject, but these suckers really are not great at producing depth of field. The later iPhones like the 7, the 8, and the 10, they all have portrait mode. But if you're like me and you don't have portrait mode, it's not the end of the world. We can still produce it. This might just mean we need a greater distance between what is in focus and our out of focus area, or simply putting an object so close to the lens that it is out of focus because we can't focus that close. Number 5, editing. Now, this step isn't entirely necessary comparatively to other brands. Apple actually has some really great color science behind the photography and videography from this camera. But I personally think that it can really add to your personal style and experimentation. This can really let you take advantage of working within the digital space and refining your personal visual style. I personally like to brighten the colors, straighten it up. You could even crop the image to produce several different compositions from that one image. Now, for editing, I personally use an app called VSCO. It's short for Visual Supply Company, and it's really great. It doesn't give you too many options, and it's really great on the go. It's really fast. Now, if you want to sit down and do a little bit more work and you really want to push that visual, I highly recommend you get Lightroom by Adobe. They have a really great mobile app, whereas for me, I do a very quick and dirty edit before I upload. Now, I understand that a lot of the pictures that I have shown throughout this video have been through my travels or just living in New York, and this isn't going to be the everyday shot. So for this demo, I really want to pick something that is maybe overlooked. So we're gonna go outside, and then we're gonna pick something, and then we're gonna shoot it. Let's go. Now, we're actually in my parents' backyard right now, and I found this leaf hanging around. It's a very everyday object that you'll have in your own yard or you'll find out on the street, and so we're gonna find a way to frame it. This is okay, but it's nothing new. It does highlight the colors really well between the orange and the blue, but we want to do something a little bit more interesting. Let's take this table for an example. There's some really interesting lines going on vertically that can really contrast this leaf really well and the natural figures and shapes that this has. Now, what I did here was I actually pulled the leaf closer so that I don't have the edge of the table in the frame. But taking the picture from above simply wasn't as interesting, but I'll show you that now, just to show that we're not getting the same kind of shapes happening. A more dynamic image, I've gotten lower and I've actually just shot above to get these elongating lines. Here is we've imported it into VSCO, and I'm just gonna do all of my normal settings. I usually like to crop it and make sure it's centered. And then clarity. Clarity helps bring out a lot of textures that often the camera will catch it, but it doesn't give it the amount of detail that I really want to be able to see. Increase the saturation to really highlight the orange tones. And then I just increase the temperature a little bit, adding a little bit of more orange and a little bit of pink. And that should be fine. So I'm actually gonna put this picture on the screen now, and that's gonna be our process. So from there in VSCO, you can actually export the image into your photos and then upload it to wherever you would like. If you found this video helpful at all, feel free to leave some love below by liking and subscribing, and I'll see you guys next time.